Welcome to Roll for Crit Spotlight. I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I'm Will Keeler.
Spotlight is the series in which we invite members of the tabletop gaming world to talk about their experiences and the industry itself. Our guest today is the head of Portal Games, which has just recently celebrated its 20th anniversary. He is the lead designer of games such as Robinson Crusoe, Adventures on the Cursed Island, Imperial Settlers, and most recently Detective, a modern crime board game. Ignacy Trzewiczek, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. So, yes, I'm calling you from Poland. Greetings from Poland to everybody.
Everyone is happy to hear from you out there. We're very excited to have you on the show today. Big fans. To get started, as we mentioned, this year is the 20th anniversary of Portal Games, which is a big deal. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started, going all the way back to the beginning, how you got interested in game design in the first place, and how things look in the industry today versus 20 years ago when Portal began?
Do we have 3 hours at least?
Take as long as you want.
Yeah, I guess it might be confusing a little bit for our fans in America, because you guys heard about Portal Games, I assume about Imperial Settlers release, so it's 2014, and suddenly I'm announcing that we are celebrating 20 years birthday, and everybody's whoa, what's going on? But here in Poland, of course, I started company many years ago, and it all started me being in a college. I finished 4th year in a college, so it was only 1 year to finish everything, and I feel that, okay, 1 year more and I will become engineer. It sucks. I don't want to be engineer, and I have to do something. And I dropped the college. I literally told my parents, I'm not going to be engineer. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I want to do games. And luckily for me, they accepted this decision. My father gave me some, basic money to start my business, like a startup back then, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I started a company. It was absolutely crazy idea, because back then, 20 years ago, there was basically no industry. Like you're asking how the industry differs today and back then. Oh my God, like this is two different worlds. Back then, of course, Magic was strong. Of course, there was still Games Workshop, because this company is forever popular. But there was no board game scene at all. I was very deep into role-playing games. I was playing Warhammer role-playing game. I was playing Deadlands, The Legend of the Five Rings, and all that kind of jazz. And there was no board games at all, and I was not even thinking about the board games. Back then I knew only about role-playing games. I founded a company to publish magazine with articles and scenarios to role-playing games, and that's how it all started. And then years later I discovered board games. Then years later I decided to translate one of my board games into the English and start to publish it in for Essen first, and then in America. So there was a lot of steps, but it all started this 20 years ago when I told my parents, I'm giving up with the college. Sorry to disappoint you. I want to do games. And they didn't kill me. So respect to them.
We support that 100%. I think it's shown that it worked out for you. It was worth it.
Oh, it's worked out for a lot of people. I think everyone is very happy with that. You mentioned that like all the RPGs that you played, but you also actually worked on some, including like Hiroshima, which I didn't even know Hiroshima Hex came from that. So do you ever think about you might go back to making some RPGs, or do you just like try to sprinkle that into your more modern board games that come out?
So this is a very interesting thing. So me personally and my company, we moved on to the board games, and I'm very happy in the place I am right now, even though, as you guys know, Detective is a sort of role-playing game, sort of. So it's still, my roots are very strong here. But we are not publishing role-playing games anymore, but because we are celebrating 20th birthday of Portal Games, so we decided here in Poland to republish, so take old content and publish it once again as anniversary editions, and we chose 5 most popular back then books that we did, and we are publishing them again in Polish. And surprise, I don't know when are you going to publish this podcast, but let's give you some confidential info. During the Gamma trade show, we are going to announce one product that is a role-playing product that we are going to do in English, also to celebrate 20th birthday of Portal Games. So we are not thinking about, stepping very strongly into role-playing games. We are not changing direction we already have, but because it's 20th birthday, this is important for me. It's a big milestone for me personally. So we decided that we are going to choose one book that was very popular here in Poland, and to present our fans in America a little bit of my roots, of the things that built the whole company. So for you guys in America, you only heard in the interviews that Ignacy was writing role-playing games, that he was game master, that the whole company was built on top of role-playing games. So we chose one book, and it will be announced during the Gamma trade show that we are going to do in America this year to celebrate 20th birthday. What's going to be next? I don't know. As I said, I'm super happy in the place I am right now, designing Detective and other board games. So I don't think that I will move to role-playing games, but this is a special year for me, so I'm celebrating.
That's a great way to celebrate for everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure that's even more difficult to translate to English too. There's so much text going on in there.
So if we have a little bit of time, this is the milestone for Portal Games, for my company, was 2007, when we were able to go outside Poland, to go to Essen Fair with the board game. So for years I was designing and publishing role-playing games, and I couldn't afford to translate them into English because of the amount of the text, as you mentioned. With the board game, it was so much simpler because we only had to translate the rulebook of Neuroshima Hex, and we were ready to go to Essen. And that's the milestone for the whole company. We went to Essen, we got the success. People discovered Portal Games in Europe, and then a few years later in America. So exactly as you said, I'm going to record a vlog in a few weeks. 5 things you never knew about Portal Games. This is the title of the vlog. Once again, a small spoiler for you for your interview. For example, we published in Poland expansion for Warhammer role-playing game. Nobody knew that. We did it in Poland, but we couldn't afford translation into English. So you guys don't know about this. But here in Poland, there was a expansion for Warhammer role-playing game written by me. So there is this cost of translation, the amount of the work. This is exactly what was stopping us to have an international career back then in the previous years.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that's very cool. I'm glad it's all working out. I'm excited to see what you have in store. We're talking about role-playing games. We're talking about board games. You've done so many different genres: co-op, competitive, narrative-driven, some even dexterity elements. I was wondering, is there a particular style or genre of game that you gravitate towards when you're starting a new project, or do you kind of specifically try to go out there and make something as new and fresh as you possibly can?
I feel that all my games use one basic system, that is worker placement. This is super simple. I understand this mechanism. I feel comfortable in this in this system. And Robinson Crusoe worker placement game, Imperial Settlers, even though this is a card game, but basically you have your workers and you put them on the cards. So it's a worker placement game. So I find my games, they're all the same. Like we are going to have a Kickstarter this year in September for Pret-a-Porter, and this is also a worker placement game. And Stronghold, the game I released back then, also worker placement game. So I feel that I'm doing over and over and over the same. Of course, details changes. Of course, these games are very, very different. But for me, I feel very, very comfortable when I draw the new game, new board, or new cards, and I understand that players will have to do actions. These cards or these spaces on the board are these actions, and players will have some resource, whether it is action pawn or these workers, and they will send these action pawns or these workers to these spaces to do action. So I'm very simple in terms of the going for the new rules and the new revolutionary mechanism. I'm not going to design something revolutionary. I don't have this power, this brain I'm just simple designer who does worker placement over and over again and try to change the clothes so you're confused and you think that this is something new.
It's so funny that you say that, because I feel like when you say it, oh yeah, there is, similar DNA between many of your games, but at the same time, maybe, part of it is just the way they're presented, the themes, they really do feel unique and distinct.
But at the same time, like going to a worker placement, Robinson Crusoe, I mean, it is worker placement, but, I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm playing a reskin of one of your other games. Speaking of which, when we started Roll for Crit very early, back in 2015, there was rumors of a Robinson Crusoe expansion involving Lovecraftian themes.
Yep.
And I think that's gone through many iterations. And
yes.
Finally has been announced to be coming out with the Robinson Crusoe Mystery Tales expansion.
Yep.
Which we've been very excited about since then. And I've been wondering if the reason it's been taking so long is because it took a while to just make sure you had to like get everything down perfectly, or was it something that just had to get put on the back burner to make room for other releases?
Yes, all things all together. So there was a delay because of the other projects. There was delay because I was trying to find a good inspiration and a good mood to design this. And then I had this schedule from my production. My production told me, Ignacy, you have time to December. You have to have it ready. So I finished in December. And then in January last year, I told them it is good, but we need to polish it. So let's work again, and we work for another couple of months. So it is a little bit of delay because of other projects, a little bit of delay because it took me longer, and a little bit of delay because I wanted it more polished and more developed. So all things considering, yes, that was moved for. It was delayed for like two years, I think. Last week I got award for that, for delaying Squirrel Award from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, our friends, podcasters, and we get award for Mystery Tales being delayed for so many years. So yes, good job, Ignacy. But it's finally ready. It is at this very moment. It is already in our warehouse in America, and we are waiting for shipment for our warehouse in Poland, and it will be released in April. So very, very soon. I am very excited. Huge work. As always, I did something that I always say I will never do it again, and then I do it. So I created much more content that I wanted to create, much more content that my production allowed me to do. Once again, things get out of the control when I started designing it. And at the beginning, it was, as you might recall, our announcements and our press releases. The basic press release was that it is a campaign, 5 scenarios. Now, as you will get the final product, is 5 scenarios and 2 more standalone scenarios and the whole set of rules and cards to change the basic game of Robinson Crusoe into the horror. So now you can play the campaign, as we promised in the very first press release. But if you finish this campaign, you still have a ton of additional cards and characters and powers to play a regular Robinson Crusoe with the core rules. So basically, instead of what I promised to design one simple campaign, I created a beast. And this is standard Ignacy Trzewiczek, out of the control. This is my biggest asset and my biggest weakness. But well, I am a CEO of the company, so there's no one to yell at me. So this is how it works.
Well, I'm sure we're going to enjoy it. I mean, both of us are more fans of making sure something gets delayed to make sure it's good than rushing it out. So, in particular, for one of our favorite games, I'm both Jonathan and I will just be like, yeah, we'll wait for that perfect extra little something.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to all the stuff we were talking about, that's even more coming out in 2019. You announced a whole bunch of things at PortalCon this year, and one of those things you already mentioned was a new version of Pret-a-Porter, which is coming to Kickstarter. And even besides that, you've also done, there's a second edition of Robinson Crusoe. You've gone back and you've looked at these older games and changed things and reprinted and redesigned, added expansions to. When you're doing that, is there something that is there a specific process that you go through? How do you decide what you like, what you want to change? Is there any game that you feel like, I don't need to do that again, that's perfect? Or are you kind of a perfectionist? Do you always think I could make that better if we could delay it just another few months?
this is a huge problem of Portal Games, that CEO of the company is the main developer, the lead developer, and I always want to change something and fix something. And even when the game is sent to the print, and in theory it is ready, it is finished, 2 months later I go to my production department and says, I have this idea, because I was taking a shower and I have this great idea. So can we add these promos, or can we do this expansion? And my brain is still working every single day, every single hour. And being designer means that you cannot switch it off. Like, it is not that I'm leaving the office, I'm going back to home, playing PlayStation and not thinking about my design. Like, this is my babies, my designs. And at super random times during the day and during a week, I got new ideas. And then there are either second edition, if these changes are bigger, or these are promos. Like, we have so many promos for our games. And this is because I'm coming to the office and say, hey guys, look at this. And I show them this idea and they say, Ignacy, cool, but the game is already released. So, and I say, okay, so let's at least do a promo. And we have a promo in our web store. So basically, designer cannot switch off. I mean, at least me. And I will be fixing these games and changing them over and over and over again. This is a constant thing. And always I look at these games and I see I can improve it. I can do it better now because I'm better designer. And so some people are pissed off when they hear about the second edition or third edition or the new expansion, because they already bought the basic game and they thought it is done. And then they have this Ignacy Trzewiczek who says, no, it's not done because I have this new brand idea. I'm sorry. You either hate it or love it. I don't know. But it's how we work.
Well, I'm guessing that's how the spyglass for Robinson Crusoe came into being.
Yeah. That literally, we were on Friday. We are recording on Saturday. Yesterday on Friday, we were preparing the final files for Roll and Write, Imperial Settlers Roll and Write. It goes to print on Monday. So on Friday, we are preparing the final proofs. And I had a brainstorm with my team, and we changed one small rule. So on one hand, you think, okay, the game is ready, the game is done, they are sending it to print, and a few hours before we are sending it to print, I'm still brainstorming and still debating and still having a meeting with my development team and said, oh, let's tweak this one thing because we have this idea. So it is insane. I guess that somebody who is not in this game industry and doesn't know how it works might be terrified. But this is how we work. We design on the top over and over again.
Well, you actually say sometimes it's a pain. That's why you have to reprint promos because something's already out to print.
Yeah.
But recently, you've been integrating a lot of new technology into your board games, which allow you to change things on the fly, like the app for First Martian, a website for Detective, and now you're working with Amazon's Alexa. What is it that you like so much about these features? Is it because you can change them on the fly when you have those brainstorms and ideas?
So basically I hate it because I'm super bad with technology. I have no idea how to do this stuff, and I have to hire people, and then I have to explain them what I need, and then they work on this. It costs a lot of money. There's always delays because these coders are lazy. That is ongoing disaster. But in a reward, I get, as you exactly said, I have a chance to shake things even when the game is released. So for the First Martians, we added a lot of new features in the game, additional events, additional adventures, and new missions. We are working on the new mode for the whole game. So it is our way that you already bought the game, you have it at home, and then me from my headquarters, I can update the app, change it. For the detective, as you know, there is a website, Antares, a dedicated website for the game. And once again, we are now releasing expansion LA Crime, and I am able to prepare here in Poland new version of this website. So when you are going to play the LA Crimes expansion and we move the timeline to 80s, this website, no spoilers, but you can imagine this website will look a little bit different. And we can do it here from Poland, update the website. And then when you start playing LA Crimes, I can imagine, and I strongly believe it will happen, you will have a big smile on your face when you log in for the first time to play LA Crimes. So yes, it gives me flexibility to adjust to changes that I need to do.
we're definitely very excited about LA Crimes for sure. As we said, you're also one of the technological things that you're trying to branch out into right now is Alexa, which is pretty ambitious. And I know one of the things that you're able to do with that also, or you will be able to do, is ask about rules questions.
For me, this is revolution. Like you can literally, we are recording this. Like I can see us listening to this podcast in 10 years and seeing that yes, he was right, because we are playtesting it. So we already saw it in action. At this point, you only hear my marketing, as they call bullshit. Yes, a lot of promises, but we already saw it in action, and it really works. Like there is two people sitting playing Monolith Arena, and they have some rules questions. And instead of browsing the rulebook, they just say aloud, "Alexa, how does the battle type works?" And the Alexa is giving them the answer, because we put like all the questions that we came up with into the Alexa system. We gave, of course, all the answers for these questions. And now when you play Monolith Arena, basically you're not browsing rulebook anymore. You read the rulebook for the first time when you bought the game, so you have to learn the rules, but then you put the rulebook into the box, and on the fly, any questions you have, you just say it aloud and Alexa will answer. I cannot wait for this to be released. We are releasing it in March, so this month. After Gamma, we are going to announce it works. When you will play, because at this point, some people say this is stupid, some people say that we don't know if it will actually work like this. At this point, there's lots of debate, and I fully understand it. But give me this 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and there'll be no debate, there will be facts. And I saw it in action. It is amazing, and I strongly believe that in few years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, all the big fishes, Asmodee, FFG, all other companies will say, okay, this is the way how gamers wants to play a game. They don't want to browse rulebook. Like browsing rulebook is frustrating. You have to find the right page, and you're looking, and you are frustrated. There's no index. Like we know the stories, yes. And then you're just able to say aloud the question, and Alexa answer it, and you can move on and play. I have a huge hopes for this, and we announced at PortalCon that first we'll release it for Monolith Arena, because this is a simple game and it was easy for us to code it. And then for every single game that we are releasing this year, this feature will be prepared. And then at the end of the year, we wait for the evaluation, for the information from our fans. If it works, we will see in the stats how many people actually uses this feature, how many of them are asking these questions, how we can improve this app. And the next year at PortalCon, we will give a follow-up and our, I would say, comment to this feature. But at this point, I am super optimistic.
I mean, it does sound pretty awesome. I will say it probably won't work if there's a hidden traitor in the game to have someone go, Alexa, how do I backstab my friends?
That could be a problem. I know that, I imagine that takes a lot of pressure off you guys. I know that there have been some occasional kerfuffles in relation to your guys' rule books. Do you think that the rule book will eventually just be phased out? Do you think there's still a way to make a better rule book? What are the challenges that go into designing a rule book? Or do you think it's strictly just going to be outdated, like you said? We're just going to be read the rules to us or something like that?
I think not, because there is basically two ways how people learn. Like there are some people who prefer to read something to understand, and other people who prefer to listen something to learn. Like basically there are these two ways how the human brain works. So I guess that we need to have a rule book for part of these people, and we need to have watch it played or other ways to perceive the rules by just listening to these rules. So every single publisher will have to have these two versions how to provide the rules. But I do believe that such a support of this Alexa or any other Google Home or something else is a huge help for us. Like you can imagine you are playing Castles of Burgundy or Forum Trajanum or any other Euro game, and you just say, Alexa, what's the tiebreaker? and you just know it. And she tells you what's the tiebreaker. You don't have to, reach for the rule book, reach for the last page of the rules and read it. You would just say, Alexa, what's the tiebreaker in Castles of Burgundy? And you know it. And so I strongly believe that it is a great way to support, to help players speed up the game and play faster and smoother. But I do believe that the rule books will be still in the boxes, because some people prefer to just sit, have a cup of tea or coffee and just read it calmly with their time. So this is how I see the future, both audio and paper.
That definitely helps with a lot of people, because I know I'm at times, sometimes it's better to just have someone say or look up, but sometimes you just want to read something. You need a lot of people to help write these things. And as you said, sometimes that means coders, for the apps and stuff. But when it comes to things like detective, you need people to help you, other people to help you actually write the storyline for the game. How does the collaboration work with that? Is it harder or is it easier?
I was insanely lucky that Luke Otwinowski, who works for me as a Portal Games director of operations for Portal Games in USA, his origins and his roots are Poland, and he speaks Polish. So we were able to write the whole cases and every single card and introduction in Polish. Then we were able to translate it into the English and then send it to him. So he read Polish cards and English cards, and he was able to find, all these small details that we wanted to put in the Polish version, but they were somehow lost in the translation. So this is basically, there is no strategy. There was just luck. I was lucky that the guy who works for me in America, he can understand Polish, and every single clue, every single detail, every single, sentence that we wrote in Polish, and it was very important for the case. And then somehow maybe was lost in translation. He was finding it and bringing it back. So I'm super lucky with this. It was a lot of work. It is a lot of work, because for every single case is again the same. So we are writing the cases in Polish. I'm play testing it in Polish. Then we are hiring a translator. He translated it into the English. Then we send it to the Luke. So he looks if there are no clues or problems in translation. And then there's more native speakers. One of them is Vinny, who works in Double Exposure. Maybe you know him, who check the cultural references and all the things that we don't know about America. Like in the LA Crimes, there is one scene, of course I cannot tell too much to not spoil it, but the scene takes place in a hospital, and how we created the card, how we created the clue was legit for how Polish hospitals operate. But it turned out that in America, guys, your hospitals have a little bit different procedure, and the whole clue that we, built it and created were based on how the hospital works in Poland. And then the native speaker says, Ignacy, it is impossible in American hospital. We don't work like that. And we had to rewrite the whole clue and the whole scene. So there's a lot of work involved. I recorded the whole vlog that is titled 7 Steps to Create a Case, because for you guys, it is one hopefully great evening to play a case, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, depending how fast you play. For us, creating and writing the case is about 2 to 3 months, one case. This is insane. And in this vlog, I was presenting all these 7 steps to first to have the script, then to write the cards, then to play test, etc., etc. Weeks of work. Yesterday we had a live stream for Polish fans, because yesterday we started pre-order for LA Crime. So we did a live stream with them. And I said, I'm terrified with the one thing. Guys, you will get LA Crimes. There's 3 new scenarios. You will play it in 1 or 2 weekends, and then you will ask me, we want more. I'm not ready. I'm terrified. I know that you will get this expansion. You will play it because you're excited. You will finish it. Hopefully you will love it. And then you will say, Ignacy, we want more. And Ignacy will say, guys, I need a break. Like, I need more time to create new cases. So I'm terrified. I'm hoping that you will love the cases, but then I know that you will ask for more.
We'll let you take a break. I think it was a pretty quick turnaround from the original to LA, but I guess you have a schedule where those things are planned out in advance.
Of course, we have a couple of cases at this point, in works. but in works still means a month of work. Like this is a really, really big task to create all these clues and the right cards and then to polish it and playtest. Like this is a lot of work.
Yeah, actually, it's one of those things that you sometimes don't think about, but it is interesting. You mentioned the American Hospital, how, sometimes you might play a game or something from another country, and it's a small thing that neither side thinks about at the time until they're forced to face the fact like, oh, that's how that works. And obviously, since you're set in LA, you want to make sure it acts like in LA, but I actually really do like it when it's set outside of where I'm used to. So I have to learn those small kind of little differences, because I think that it sort of reminds you that people might act a little bit differently over something that you might just not even consider to be something weird.
Yeah.
So
for us, when we had the detective ready, and I fly to Niagara Falls for Alan Moon Gathering of Friends to present the game, to run a couple of demos, because we had the feedback from the Polish playtesters, and the feedback was very good for the base game, and we felt that we have something special. But this was exactly what you are saying. We were not sure if in a different culture, in a different country, with a different perception, the feedback would be the same. So I literally took a flight and fly to Niagara Falls to play test with the Native Americans and to see the feedback. And when I played test at the Niagara Falls, I spent there the whole week. The whole week I was playing detective with different reviewers, influencers, and basically gamers. And then I came back to Poland and I said, okay, we are good. Like the feedback in America was just as good as in Poland. We are good to go. Let's print the game. We are fine. But there are differences. Like I saw different approach of gamers in America compared to Polish playtesters, and then I was running a demos in Germany, and also this place played a little bit different. So it is fascinating. Then you have one story, you have the same 35 cards, and you are giving this story to the players, and they act a little bit different because of their background, because of what they know about the world, what their culture. For me, it was very interesting to see how different people react to basically the same card, just the same text.
Let me guess, the Americans are a bit more aggressive.
And the Americans were lazy and didn't want to go to laboratory. Like in Germany, the first thing what happened, like there was a dead body, we go to laboratory to see the autopsy. Americans, no, autopsy, no, she's dead, we know that. It was very funny for me.
Oh, I actually think that's what we sort of did at first, but I think because we were scared of like time, we're like, we don't have the time to do it. We have to get all these other clues.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think you would ever make a detective case set in Poland?
I'm not sure, but for sure we want to shake things up. So we will move to different settings, to different areas of the world. So maybe we'll move someday to Poland. I guess fans in Poland will be very, very happy. There is so many options for me and so many tempting stories to create. So I'm very happy the game is successful. I'm hoping that the expansion will make players happy and make them wait for the another expansions, and I hope that I will be able to write more cases in the future, because it really is fun. It's a long process, it's a hard work, but overall it's a great fun, and there's so many different stories that I want to tell.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be looking forward to any of those future cases. I definitely really want to talk to you about your blog and all the vlogs that you do, as you referenced earlier, in your blog, which is called Board Games That Tell Stories, which has even been, many of those entries have been published in book form. Yeah. What inspires you to write about the design process, about the other aspects of the industry that you write about? What do you hope that people gain from your posts? Do you see them as kind of an instructive type of thing, or is it more just that you have these ideas in your head and you need to get them out there?
Yeah, the second answer is absolutely right. Like I started the whole company, Portal Games, is 20 years ago. Publishing a magazine about the role-playing game. So I was writing my whole life. Basically, I'm a writer. And board games and the game industry is my whole life. Like we are now, it's a Saturday. I'm so happy that I can talk about the games and doing interview with me. Next to me on this desk, left to the laptop, there is a prototype of Imperial Settlers Empires of the North. Like I'm living. This is my life with board games, and because I'm a writer, I just have to share it, and I cannot stop it. So this is no like big marketing strategy plan. Let's open the blog to attract new customers. Like basically, back then when I started the blog, it was 2011. Basically, nobody knew about me, and people were not super interested in portal games at all. But anyway, I was writing. I was just writing, and I got more followers, and more people were enjoying what I'm writing. But basically, it is my need to just share with the world my thoughts, and I'm super happy, and I'm very proud that somebody actually wants to read it. When I started Kickstarter for my book, my 2 books, I was super proud that somebody actually wants to pay money for my writing. It was very, very nice and very humbling. But there is no like big strategy behind. It's just me. There's something happens in my life, like I'm playing a game and there's something funny happens, or maybe we have some problems in the manufacturer, or like anything happens, and I say, okay, let's write about it. Let's change it into the story. And of course, when there is a comments below the articles, when there is likes, it of course motivates to keep doing that. So basically, I'm very happy just writing and knowing that somebody is reading it and enjoying.
We do enjoy a lot. In fact, one of your recent blog entries titled One Era Print Runs, you talked about the issue of older games and how you're really sad to see some of them get lost, as you said, lost to the sands of time. We actually talked about it in one of our videos and suggested maybe digital versions of board games as a way to maybe offset the problem, which was it was met with mixed response. Do you think digital games would be a boon to the industry, or do you think there's a different solution to this sort of one print run issue, if one at all?
I don't know. Like on one hand, I do love my Narushima Hex on my iPad, and each time I fly somewhere, I'm playing Narushima Hex. On the other hand, the example I used in this article was a Lewis and Clark, amazing Euro game, and I would prefer to play the cardboard version of that. And of course, if there is no choice, I better play it on my iPad than no play. But I would definitely want somebody to publish the game again. And of course, it's just an example. There's so many other great games from 90s or from later that needs to be reprinted by the industry. Is not interested. What I already know, and I'm very happy seeing that, is that Board Game Geek website is seeing the changes in the industry, seeing this problem. And I know that there will be more and more older games available through Board Game Geek store. So I know that 51st State, our game that is sort of old in terms of today's industry, because it is 3 years old. So for today's industry, it's like dinosaurs. So we just reprinted 51st State. It will be released in a couple of weeks, and it will be available to distribution. But as I said in this article, distribution basically is not interested because this game is old. So it will be available through Board Game Geek web store, and where the geeks sit, they are there. They are spending lots of time at Board Game Geek, so they will find these other games. And I talk with the Board Game Geek team, and they are aware of the situation, that there is gems in the industry that nobody wants to reprint, and they feel like they may help bring these other games back to life. So as far as I know, there was no official announcement yet, so there's no details, but you can expect this year that there'll be some changes to help bring these older games to the market again. Because as I wrote in this article, this is not a problem, lack of demand. Like there are geeks who want these games, who pay a huge amount of money on eBay to get this, old copy of this game. But basically, the industry, the distribution, the retailers, they see, this old game, I prefer the new one. So this is a problem in a B2B environment rather than B2C, and that's why I wrote this article to show the customers that maybe they will not be able to buy the older game, not because there's no demand, but because the B2B environment prefers new shiny title.
Yeah, I feel like it's something, it's similar you see even in the film industry, how a lot of older films, they didn't archive them originally. And sometimes you can't find decent copies of some like classic movies. And so hopefully we can kind of use that hindsight to make sure that doesn't happen with board games. It's harder. Of course, it's more difficult, I think, because of the manufacturing involved and the.
Luckily, what is good, we have Kickstarter. So if there is a publisher who has the good old game and he believes in it, he can put it on a Kickstarter, not use distribution, not use retail, just go to the direct customers. This is what we do with Pret-a-Porter. We were not sure if distributors will be interested in this old game because Pret-a-Porter is a game from 2010, I think. So it is really, really old. So we said, okay, we will not even try to convince anybody that there is demand. We will just find it by ourselves and we are going to Kickstarter. So this Kickstarter thing is a good option, good choice to bring older games back.
Yeah, definitely. We're in support of it. All right, so we have 2 final questions. We always end our Spotlight episodes with the same 2 questions, kind of a lightning round. So the first question is there a current trend in the tabletop games industry, and maybe we've touched on some of this already, a particular trend that you're excited about or one that you're maybe worried about?
This is super simple because everybody is doing roll and write right now. Since this year, this is super simple question. Yes, I'm very excited about roll and write because I'm a huge fan of these games. I played my first roll and write game was Rolling Japan, and back then I didn't realize that this is a genre of the games. I just played Rolling Japan and I said, wow, this is a very cool game. Then months later, I played Quicks, German game. And once again, it didn't click for me like it was fun. But once again, I didn't realize that it might be a genre. But then I played Welcome to, and I say, okay, this is third game in a row that I'm using a pencil and I'm loving it. And I start paying attention to these games, and then I discovered Steamrollers, and then I discovered Guns on Clever, and then I discovered the whole genre of roll and write games. I designed my game myself, Imperial Settlers Roll and Write, and I cannot wait for all these games that will be released in this genre this year because, as you know, this year everybody got crazy. Uwe Rosenberg has Roll and Write, and Rainer Knizia has Roll and Write, and Ignacy Trzewiczek has Roll and Write. We are just waiting for Eric Lang to have his own Roll and Write because everybody is doing that. And on one hand, because there's demand, because it's a trendy, and on the other hand, because for a designer, is a great challenge. Like this is a very interesting, you have this new mechanism that you can try to challenge yourself and create something interesting. So I challenged myself and I created Imperial Settlers Roll and Write. I guess Uwe Rosenberg find it also interesting, and Rainer Knizia and all other designers. So I'm very excited about this genre because I was liking it for years. And this year I'm spending a lot of dollars to buy all of these games to have them in my collection. So this is what I'm excited about. And basically I'm really loving the state of the industry as it is right now. I love these escape games. I love these story-driven games. There's so many campaigns. Back then, if we can once again move back because we are celebrating my birthday. Come on, so we can move. So let's move back to 2013. Allowed. Yes, 2013. I'm releasing MHS Beagle. This is a campaign for Robinson Crusoe, and back then there was no word for legacy games. There was no campaign games at all. So my expansion was released. I got very good reviews, but nobody perceived it as something special. It was just expansion. Now, if the MHS Beagle would be released right now, everybody would be saying, "Wow, this is a legacy expansion for the Robinson. How cool is that?" Now we have these words. Yes, now we have these keywords that we can describe this product. So I was excited about the campaign games before they were trendy, I would say, and I'm excited very much these days. And I'm seeing all these new games. I just bought Betrayal and the Haunted Hill. Yes, yes, I love the new releases because I'm a role-playing gamer, as we know, and this is my root. So seeing these campaign games, this is gold for me.
Yeah, we've been enjoying Roll and Write, and I think of all the game types, this is one Jonathan has consistently trousted me. I have not won a single one. And I am a little curious because this is a sort of a side note. We were talking about roll and write, and one of the reasons we like is you end up with, you make your own little thing in essence.
Yeah.
And we were so wondering, is there a word for that, for like games like that, or like
I think actually Imperial Settlers is another example where at the end of the game, we like when whether you win or lose, you kind of have this fun little tableau. You feel like you've created something that you can look at and enjoy.
Yeah, I do believe that, and this is true for many of games that we are releasing, because we are these board games that tell stories. This is the whole keyword for the whole company. When you play the Legacy Testament of the Duke de Crécy, our old game from 2013, which was about the marriages and building your family tree. If you lose this game, you are not worried, because you build an amazing big family tree. You have these marriages, the kids, and you are proud. When you play Robinson Crusoe, most likely you are going to lose, but still you have these great stories, and you're beaten by the snake, etc., and you're happy. You're finishing the game of Imperial Settlers. Maybe you lost, but you have this empire of romance, and you have this catapult, and you have this stone, and you are happy. So if the game is good, if the game has a good story, the winning is just nice additional touch. But if you're losing, you still have this 2 hours of great time, and this is what I believe in games.
Yeah, maybe we'll call them story giving games. All right. And final question, can you recommend one game that you're playing now, or just a game that you think more people should be playing?
I played yesterday in the evening Underwater Cities. This is the game released last Essen, designed by Vladimir Suchy, Czech designer. And as far as I know, it will be released by Rio Grande Games. I don't know if they already announced it, so I hope I didn't ruin their marketing plan. But I know that it will be released in America. Underwater Cities, very dry, even though it is underwater, very dry Euro, very difficult, very challenging. I absolutely love it. I adore it. And this is one of the games that we decided that we are going to do Polish edition, even though it was not our plan back then in Essen. In Essen, we didn't contact this company. We were not interested. And then a friend of mine just bought a copy, and he borrowed it to me. I played it, and I said, okay, this game is brilliant. I want to be publisher of this game for Polish market. And we contacted Vladimir Suchy, and we signed the contract because I love this game so much. So I strongly recommend Underwater Cities, great Euro game, and this is what I'm playing right now.
All right, Underwater Cities, and I did check. Rio Grande Games is listed on Board Game Geek as the publisher, so
they will not kill me. That's good.
That's right. You're safe. Thank you so much for talking to us today. As I said, there's so much exciting stuff coming from Portal Games this year. Could you just, if you want to let people know where they can follow you, where they can find you online to keep up with all the new announcements you guys have?
Yeah, this is this evergreen joke that basically I'm everywhere because I'm too excited. So like one social media platform is not enough for me because I'm so excited. So of course you can find me on Instagram when I'm posting photos of our games. I have a vlog. You mentioned I have a vlog. Like I'm this crazy guy that I have one employee who is going around the office every single day with a camera. So we record like history of our company. So we can literally watch us working on the first marshals. We can watch us working on the alien artifacts because I'm too excited. And I said, okay, let's archive our work. So each Monday we release a vlog on YouTube from our company. I have a blog, Board Games That Tell Stories. So basically you have to go to portalgamesus.com. This is our new website, portalgamesus.com. And from this website, you will find our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, like our YouTube. Like I'm crazy. Like I'm spending all day just sharing my love to games, and whatever social platform we are using, I'm there. Beware, because you will find me.
Perfect. Yeah, that is. I think that is true. Well, we're looking forward to all that new upcoming stuff. Again, thank you. Happy 20th anniversary, and
thank you.
Here's to 20 more years of Portal Games.
Thank you.
Again, our guest has been Ignacy Trzewiczek, and it is. I've stayed up all night in the mirror practicing saying your name, so I hope that I didn't. Hope that I did it okay.
It was very good.
All right.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks everybody for listening and watching this. I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I'm Will Keeler.
And this has been Roll for Crit Spotlight. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll for Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.